Alright, so we're going to keep talking a little bit about the TriCaster, and more specifically we're going to talk about this control panel that we have over here. So this one is the Mini TriCaster 4K control panel. Of course, we know that the TriCaster software itself is the same across Studio A and B and the Mini Studio. However, the difference is that the Studio A and B have a bigger control panel. It's the TriCaster Flex. Over here, you have the TriCaster Mini 4K. So I'm going to show you some of the shortcuts that you can do using this control panel. So we know that the red bus over here is actually our program bus, and the green bus over here is actually our preview bus, right? So I know that if I switch my preview over here, it does the same thing on the interface itself over here. So I want to kind of re-emphasize that doing something on the board or doing it with my mouse and my keyboard is the same thing, but the purpose behind using the board or the control panel is that it's more efficient, especially in a live broadcast environment or live to tape environment. So yeah, the idea behind basic switching is that I would kind of preview my shot first. So that's what I see in my green box over here. If I'm happy with how it looks, I have two options to send it into program, which is what is being recorded. I can either hit take, or I can hit auto, which is the auto transition button. Take will just do a hard cut between the preview and the program monitor. It'll just essentially switch them. So if I hit take, I'm going to have my, in this case, input 2 in the program, and what was input 5 for me, which was the screen sharing that I'm doing, is now in the preview. If I hit take again, I'm just going to switch them again. Now I can see that my auto trans is actually set to the alien transition over here. So if I hit auto, it's going to do that transition automatically between the two inputs in my preview and my program. However, I can also use the T-bar. Using the T-bar will do the same thing as using this auto trans button. However, it'll give you kind of more control on how the transition happens. So I can obviously manually control the speed that the transition occurs in, but I can also hold, for example, in the middle of the transition. This alien transition is a good example of that. So I can hold the alien's hand here in the middle for quite a minute before I quickly send it back down, doing that with the T-bar. So that's kind of the idea behind basic switching. Again, you kind of preview your shot, and then you hit take to send it, preview your next shot, and then hit take to send it, etc. Alright, so we also went over how we can kind of change our transitions. What is our assigned transition using our mouse and the keyboard over here, right? So like I mentioned in the earlier video, I can click on the icon and change the transition, but we actually have a quicker way to do that using these two knobs over here. So you have your select knob on the left, and you have your rate knob on the right, and those both are going to control your auto transition, right? So by switching my select knob over here, you can see that on this box over here where the transition happens, I'm actually switching between my 9 quickly pre-selected transitions. So remember how I said over here you can set 9 transitions to quickly select. Using this knob will quickly switch between those transitions. So now I have a twirl. And then the rate knob over here will control how fast or slow that transition happens. So as I changed my rate knob, you can see that the duration on the transition is changing on the interface itself, right? So let's say I want this twirl to last a full 2 seconds. So I can change my rate knob until it says 2 seconds, and then when I hit auto, it'll take 2 seconds to complete, versus if I took it all the way down and then I hit auto, it'll happen quicker. So that's about it for the transition options that you can do on the board. Let's talk a little bit about the quick mixed effects options that you can do. So up here you have 5 buttons. So the first one that you're going to be on by default says main, and then you have your mixed effects. So you have mixed effect 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so you should always be in main when you're just doing the basic switching. So this main mode is for basic switching when you're switching between inputs to control what is being recorded. But this mixed effect options is just a quick way to actually assign your mixed effects. So You saw in the earlier video how we can actually use our mixed effects to create green screen composites, right? So in that video you saw Jose go on mixed effects 1 over here, and he made sure to click that we're going to be using 2 layered composites, and then you just assign your foreground and your background. We can actually do all of that using just the board. How does that work? So I can see right now that my mixed effect 1, the foreground is input 1 and the background is DDR1. So if I click on ME1, mixed effect option 1 on the top over here, I'm going to see exactly that. So I'm going to see that the program and preview bus has now changed, and it's no longer reflecting actually the program and preview bus. Actually, now it's going to show you foreground A and background B. Why? Because we are actively in the mixed effect 1 option. So what we're doing right now is assigning our mixed effect using the board. So this is telling me that in mixed effect 1, the foreground is input 1 and the background is DDR2, which is what we have on our interface over here. Alright, if I click on mixed effect 1 over here, ME1 over here, it's going to show me now what ME1, mixed effect 1, is comprised of, right? So instead of showing me typically the program and the preview, as you can see on the screen, my program is actually input 5 and my preview is input 2, but the board does not show me that anymore. That's because these buses are no longer reflecting the program and the preview. They're actually reflecting the foreground A and the background B inside mixed effect 1 because we have this mixed effect 1 button activated. So again, like I said earlier, if I do something on the board or if I do it on the software itself using a keyboard and the mouse, it's the same thing. So this is just a quicker way to assign your mixed effect. So instead of doing it on the mouse and trying to select, oh, I want DDR1 to be my background, I can just click that over here. And let's say I want my foreground to be input 2 and I want my background to be DDR1. As you can see, that was immediately reflected when I clicked on the board. It was immediately reflected on ME1, and vice versa. If I want to do it on the board, so I'm going to make my foreground input 1 and my background DDR2, you can see that that also changed automatically on the board. So these buttons over here just allow you to set your mixed effects quickly and automatically. And once you're done setting up your mixed effects, you're going to click on your main option over here, and that's going to take you back to your basic switching options. All right. What else can we do on the board? So as you can see here on the top, you have some playback options. So you can actually use those to quickly play back what's in preview. So for example, I can see that right now DDR1 is in my preview bus, and so if I want to play it using the board and I don't want to play the video using my mouse, so I can actually access these playback options by using my shift button over here. So as I hold shift, I can now hit on play, and you can see it's now playing that video in DDR1. While I hold shift, I can hit on the stop and it will stop playing that video. And while I hold shift, I can hit on this back arrow and it'll repeat that video from the beginning. So again, you could do all of this using just your mouse and your keyboard, but this is just a quicker shortcut way to play whatever is in your preview.